Well, hello guys. My name's Bethany, and I just got this new game. I'm sure everyone has heard of it on the internet because it's amazing, but it's called Planet Zoo. And basically, you get to make the zoo of your dreams. I used to play Zoo Tycoon and Zoo Tycoon 2 all the time whenever I was younger, and I actually rediscovered Zoo Tycoon 2 probably about 5 years ago. Played it for a little while. My computer really hated it, so it hated playing it and didn't really support it very well, but my laptop here actually does pretty well. So what we're doing here is I'm kind of making the front of my zoo, and first off we are going to make the staff area so I can put some animals in. So we're making this little staff area, and there is like a boundary you have to be away from so that the guests don't get mad about seeing or being near the staff buildings. So we're putting it over here. We're putting a little wall around it. I'm going to try and decorate it as well. And then we're going to move on to the front and make our flamingo exhibit. And that's kind of common in zoos to have the flamingos near the front, at least some of them. And I used to work in a zoo for 5 years, so I love zoos. I should qualify. I love AZA certified zoos throughout the US and some other European and other country institutions that follow strict guidelines. So, moving on from that, a lot of times at the zoo you're going to have a pretty manicured front entrance, and I wanted to give as realistic as possible. So at our zoo that I worked at, we had a pretty large horticulture and ground staff, and they would be working on the plant life, and we were also a certified botanical garden, so that may be a little bit different from other zoos, but we had a lot of species from outside of the country and some more endangered species of plants, so they kept pretty good care on them, and I wanted to give it a look of, hey, we tried to do some manicuring of the lawns and plants, but it still looks pretty organic, so that's what I was trying to do. And then here I am putting a staff sign, but I moved it back just because whenever you first looked at the entrance of the zoo, that's pretty much the first thing you saw, and I didn't like that, so we moved it back. And currently I am looking for my flamingos. They like a minimum of 10 flamingos to be happy, up to like 500 flamingos, so I started getting some, but they only pop up only a couple in the animal trading area there at a time. And I'm pretty picky about my animals, especially if we're going to have this sandbox mode where you get unlimited amount of money to get them. I'm going to be pretty picky. So I want the ones that are healthy and fertile and will live a little bit longer if I can afford it. So we're doing that. And then back over here, they are just leaving the trading area here. And I realized I didn't put a staff room in, so they were not very happy to be moving my animals while they didn't have a staff room, so I put that in. And we got a flamingo in here so that we can build it kind of around what the flamingo wants. It's a whole lot easier, I have found, while playing around, to make it after you already get the animal in there, obviously, because then you can look and see what they want. I am not good at playing video games, like I'm just not. I would play Call of Duty and stuff with my brother and with my friends back in the day. We'd be playing like the zombies, and I'm the one that's like running around screaming in circles, like shooting at the air because I can't control anything. My type of video game is definitely more like The Sims, where you don't have to fear for your life while you're trying to do things. You can just kind of design things. There was also used to be like a PlayStation game called like Rise of Civilizations or something. I used to love that game because, you know, no threat of actually dying while your back's turned. So that's my kind of game, but I'm not very good at games, and these controls were actually super difficult for me to learn. I made the stupid mistake of not doing like the campaign or like the career mode first. So learning on the fly was a little hard, and then I went back and did a couple of the tutorials, and I got a little bit better, but I'm still not very good. I also haven't watched a whole lot of like videos online of other creators making these, so I don't have a lot of ideas. I'm just kind of basing it off of kind of what I would see in a zoo that I would go visit, which I do regularly because I'm a nerd, and my past zoo that I worked at. So my terrain tool skills are not optimal, but we're working on it. And then I did go with the glass fencing, and I didn't include it in this video because I just can't stop playing. It's a lot of fun. But after I get done filming this video, I fixed the fencing situation a little bit, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about later. I clumped a whole bunch of like the bamboo together at the back edge, and it looked a little weird, so I spent a lot of time fixing that, and then you'll see that in our next video that I'm going to post as well. So we are just putting in our educational signs here, and we are putting in a speaker kind of there in the middle, pushing it back. I probably should have sunk it into the floor. It looks a little weird there, but whatever. And then we've got benches because this is your first place you'll walk in. Maybe this is a meeting point for other people in the zoo to meet up with you. And we're getting some more flamingos in, just trying to get those populations up. And then where I put that enrichment feeder there in the water, the keeper couldn't get to it, so I moved it to the edge. And they're just bringing in more flamingos. And I'm trying to get him to feed the stupid flamingos, and I know this is an issue just from seeing it online. The keepers are still not wanting to like feed the animals. I fired that keeper, got a new one, and then trained them to level 2, and that seemed to really help. They like automatically fed them. So I don't know if it's just like a keeper by keeper basis, or if you have to train them to level 2 to get them to feed, but I know that they do prioritize feeding with the enrichment feeders instead of like the food bowls. So that may also be why they weren't filling the food bowl, but they also weren't feeding the enrichment feeder, so I don't know. And then this is my stupidly long process of trying to figure out how to make this stupid sign. And like I said, I'm not very good at these controls yet, and they're quite a bit different from any game that I've ever played. They're like different than the Sims controls on how to move objects around and stuff, and I'm just not used to it. So it took me a hot minute to get all these letters on here, and I actually cut forward here so you see what it ends up being. I just called it the Living Museum, which is kind of a common name for zoos in certain areas, like the MOLA in the Fort Worth Zoo, like their herpetarium area with all the reptiles, the Modern Museum of Living Art, I think, in places like that. But I thought it was fitting. We're gonna do some more landscaping, and I know it got dark, but we're gonna make it light here in just a second. I realized you could do that down there at the bottom. If you just click on like the temperature and moon there, you can actually make it whatever time of day and weather you want, which is pretty cool here in Sandbox. So definitely gonna take advantage of that here in just a second. We're putting down some plants. And like I said, I wasn't focusing too much on like region of plants. A lot of these plants are from North America, which is where the zoo is set. So I tried to keep it like that, but I also want it to look nice and landscaped. And whenever you're landscaping, you're not always going to have just native plants, especially if you're in a public area who has a lot of walkways and stuff. You're going to have probably some oriental plants and stuff like that. So I didn't keep myself too accountable there. But also in zoos I've been in, we've always had an area here at the front where you're like taking pictures, and right there in front of the sign where it's all nice and pretty. So I just put a rock and some flowers and tried to fill up the area behind it here in just a second so you get like a nice photo opportunity. So we're just going to be placing some plants underneath here and kind of filling in the area. I also didn't want the guests to be able to see the flamingos straight from the sign. I wanted them to go up on the boardwalk and get a better look. So we're doing that. And then I also couldn't figure out how to put roofs onto these buildings. I'm sure there's a very easy way to do it, but my silly self could not figure it out. But I think now that I've actually looked at it, I think I know a way to do it. So I'm going to go back in and do that. Maybe not in this next episode, but the one after that. And we're just kind of making them look a little bit better. Getting them all in one style here. And then put up the little signs on the front for what the buildings actually are. So whenever I get a roof on there, we can still tell what it is. And like I said, I'm not very good at these controls, but I just learned I needed to put the stupid object on there wherever it wants to land and then move it around from there. So that's what we did. And we're just going to keep doing that for a moment. And this first episode is just going to be the main front entrance here. And then we're gonna move on to like a little entrance food and drink area. And then we're gonna actually go on to our apes towards the back next. I'm gonna have like a great ape center, kind of like you would see in certain zoos where maybe you're in a building in the middle and you have apes surrounding you in all the different large areas and like kind of like pie quadrants. So we're gonna have that for like the gorillas and the orangutans and stuff, which I think is gonna be pretty cool. I just need to figure out how to make them not look the same. So you'll see what I'm talking about next time if you watch the next one, which I really hope you do. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm very new at recording, so this may not be like the best angles or the best way to do anything, but I'm trying. And I have played The Sims for a long time. I have posted, I think at this point, 2 Sims videos on the internet. I'll link both of them down in the description, and I'll have another one coming probably tomorrow, which was just creating me and my husband and my 2 dogs in The Sims. So definitely check that out if you like The Sims, or if you want to know more about me, I guess. And then of course I have another channel that has like Disney on it, as well as cleaning and organizing, as well as all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of like my hodgepodge channel. And I think there's some good stuff on there. Obviously I would, since I made the videos, but we'll see about that. The toilets, I didn't have a pathway towards the back of the toilet, so I was just fixing that. We're looking one more time for more flamingos before we head on out of this video. But I hope you guys have enjoyed watching it. Like I said, we're posting another one here in just a little while, so check back for that here in just a moment. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!